I was supposed to be at Kwantlen University in British Columbia, Canada, and I did go there for 45 minutes and said nope, and I left. So I moved to Los Angeles to get into improv comedy. I just thought, I'm gonna go do this thing and I'm gonna give it a year, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, I'll go back to school, get a degree. It was about 6 weeks into my trip in Los Angeles, and I called them and said, hey, I'm in Los Angeles, I'm not in school. And then my father hung up on me, and then my mom called me back, and she was always kind of the voice of reason, and then my father sort of came around. Acting was a way to get out of the house. It wasn't really like a passion when I was a kid. It was something that I was already doing at home, to survive. So right. You kind of, I noticed when I was a kid, making people laugh was a great self-defense mechanism. It really helped me kind of navigate my way through my own home with my older brothers and my dad, and I could diffuse them by making them laugh. Yeah, it was kind of a rough household. I was less like the youngest brother, but more like a moving target. Yeah, we're all super close now, but when we were kids, it was just every day was a new and amazing, messy, stabbing death. It was tough. I was a kid I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of different kind of phobias and issues that I had to sort of work through, and it took me a long time to kind of recognize those things as assets as opposed to liabilities. For me, high school was a situation where the more invisible I was, the more kind of happy I was. So I just wanted to get through that show and go live my life. It was, high school can be a pretty violent, sort of crazy place. So when I was, as a kid, I was always trying to be invisible. So I never celebrated this stuff. And a lot of the stuff I did was shown in the United States, but not necessarily shown in Canada. So I could kind of get away with that. Still struggle with those same things. As challenging as they are, and they're also gifts that come with those things, and it's that same sort of situation where you become kind of incredibly perceptive in ways in which you otherwise wouldn't. Mm-hmm. You're all constantly kind of sensing both real danger and non-existent danger. So those are things that have really helped me in my work. But yeah, as a kid, it was tough. And I eventually ran out of money, so I just asked an agency to meet with me, and I called about 10 of them, and then I finally got my foot in the door with one really small agency, and I bullshitted them. I just said, if you send me out on 5 auditions, I don't care what they are, what they're for, I promise you'll come back with 1. If I don't come back with 1 after 5, you don't have to take me on. I'll leave and I won't say a word. Now I got the 4th one, I got a sitcom. Always just embrace this idea that you know nothing, because you don't. I mean, as soon as you think you know exactly how it's all going to go down, or what audiences are really yearning for, you can be surprised. There's an old line from a movie that you would never expect to have that much wisdom, but there's an old line from Van Wilder, which is, don't take life too seriously because you'll never get out alive. I mean, I'm grateful for that kind of momentum being very, very sort of snail's pace, as opposed to like a rocket ship, because I've watched so many people in this industry come and go, in various tragic ways and that sort of thing. And fame is a weird animal to deal with, I think, for anybody. Everything's all or nothing in Hollywood. It's either you're the biggest star they've ever seen or you're done. I got lucky and found that weird sort of middle ground where I was able to kind of just slowly build my career. Did a sitcom for 4 years, which was probably still the best job I've ever had, because it was a live audience. It was like kind of what I wanted to be doing anyway, which was, improv comedy and that kind of stuff. It was a live audience that would pour in. And then, you know, this sitcom world is about a 6 or 7 or 8 month at most job a year. I mean, this is, you finish your season and then you're free. So I loved it because I would just go travel. I would go backpacking all over the world, and I would do all these sort of things. I think I really spent that money that I made wisely at the time. I got to see the world and have experiences. So, you know, but back then they don't, you know, when you're an unknown kind of quantity, it's not that they throw money at you or anything like that. For me, it was a lot more money than I was making driving a forklift. So I was thrilled with that. You know, I could work 6, 7 months a year and then go travel for the rest. So that's kind of how I did it. And you kind of become hyper perceptive. You know, you start to really sort of think about how you're going to survive. so especially my 3 older brothers, who were so sort of physical guys, and you know, there was just rough housing. Like for them was always funny. For me, it was like a life-threatening situation. So you sort of learn to kind of get by on using your mind, not your fists. So I became kind of hyper perceptive as a kid, and I know that contributed in enormous ways to the different paths I chose in life, you know, particularly show business and that sort of thing. I was able to kind of constantly mimic people or watch people and look for tiny signs and big signs of, you know, danger. I mean, people who are Deadpool fans know that I was trying to get this made for almost a decade before we got the first one made. Well, if you see the character of Deadpool, it's kind of an unorthodox type superhero. I mean, it's R-rated. It's, you know, it's a character that breaks the fourth wall. He has cancer. He wears like a giant, you know, red body condom around. I mean, these are all like unusual things for a superhero movie. You don't really ever get to see his face. For me, it was an opportunity to really kind of showcase something that I had been passionate about for a decade when I got that first one. I love that edict. I like that idea that I believe in film and any endeavor to be a process of collaboration. I think you always have to listen and always ask for help, and the best leaders are the people that hire the best people. So for me, that's the thing that I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned, is like, you know, just hire the best people you can, people that you connect with, people that you love, people that, you know, you can learn from, and that's how you make it.